Pressure is mounting on Law Society of Kenya President Faith Odhiambo to step down just a day after her appointment to the panel of experts on compensation of victims of demonstrations and public protests. In a strongly worded letter, Advocate Levi Munyeri warns that he will move to oust Odhiambo from office if she insists on holding the LSK presidency while also sitting on the panel, a body he argues is unconstitutional and duplicates the role of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. NTV's David Mudhoka reports on the fresh controversy surrounding President William Ruto's compensation plan.
Barely a day after being sworn in as vice chair of the panel of experts on compensation of victims of demonstrations and public protests, LSK President Faith Odhiambo is at the eye of the storm. Lawyer Levi Munyeri has threatened to file an urgent motion for her removal from office if she fails to resign. In his letter to the LSK president, Munyeri protests Faith's decision, stating, and I quote, "Your acceptance to serve in the panel of experts violates the Constitution and statute in the following ways. 1. The panel has duplicated the function of a constitutional creation, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, whose functions are outlined in Article 59 of the Constitution to include to receive and investigate complaints about alleged abuses of human rights and take steps to secure appropriate redress where human rights have been violated. Patently, the president of LSK has taken oath to serve in a panel of experts that is anchored on unconstitutionality. 2. The constitutionality of the panel of experts was challenged in the High Court. The pending petition raises serious constitutional grounds that should prompt a reasonable legal mind to conclude that the panel is unconstitutional. 3. In July 2024, you declined the appointment by President Ruto to serve as a member of an independent task force that will audit the country's public debt. Your reason for declining that appointment was that in your assessment it was unconstitutional since the mandate to conduct public audit rests with the Office of the Auditor General. In this case, you should have drawn a similar conclusion that the mandate to compensate victims of state-sponsored violence rests with the KNCHR. Munyeri concludes by stating, and I quote, "It is based on the foregoing that I bring to your attention that by accepting the appointment you have offended the Constitution. By purporting to serve as the LSK president and President Ruto's appointee, you have compromised the competencies of the LSK to perform its functions under Section 4 of LSK Act. On this matter, I speak for the Constitution as an LSK member. I will pursue the relevant legal channels to hold the aforementioned illegalities." End of quote. But responding to such criticism during her swearing-in, Faith Odhiambo dismissed claims of betrayal, insisting she will not hesitate to step away if the panel loses direction.
Faith Odhiambo will not let you down. The bloodshed of our comrades must not be in vain. And no, I will not take any prisoners. I will instead keep you informed of the developments, and at no point shall I act to negate the gains that we have made together as a country.
I want to echo my Vice Chair's emphasis that this particular effort is victim-centered. It is impartial, and it is non-partisan. It is apolitical. It is not an exercise in political expediency. It is a heartfelt exercise in which we intend as a country to lead not just with the head, but to lead with the heart.
At the same time, legal minds are questioning the compensation framework itself, including whether it risks setting a dangerous precedent for future governments to crack down on protesters, knowing they can simply pay off victims.
There should be no situation where a government or anybody contemplates loss of life. Unless it's accidental, unless it is God's act. Life lost through police brutality or lost through executive orders or through, breaking of demonstrations or simply violating people. So that life is not one that you want to say it can be lost, then compensate. So let us first of all uphold the right to life.
Dr. Olo also poked holes at the legality of the panel, insisting it duplicates the role of KNCHR, while also questioning the LSK president's decision to sit in it.
Why would a professor of law bring in lawyers to violate the constitution, to violate the law? Because what authority does this ad hoc committee have as to talk about compensation, and what authority do they have to enforce that compensation? What if that process has no legal clothing and cannot withstand any test of time? What if it's going to be unfair to Kenyans and Kenyans were to go to court? What a waste of time.
All eyes now turn to Faith Odhiambo, whose next move could determine not just her future at the helm of LSK, but also the fate of the controversial compensation panel. David Muthoka, NTV, Nairobi.